Support WrestleTalk!
Is that sound now?
I didn't do it. It's not my fault. I didn't set up this stream. I see people in the chat being like, oh, Tempest did it again. It's not my fault. It's not my fault, everybody. I didn't do it.
Press the thing. Can you put the graphic back up? And we'll pretend this never happened. And we'll come back. Hello and welcome to the AEW Dynamite Review podcast with sound.
Now with sound.
Now
the new feature
with
for the
sound.
kids.
And an out of focus Pete Quinnell thumb. Who likes thumbs up? Sorry about that, folks. Let's just go back into the spiel we were doing. Saraya is 100% medically cleared to return to the ring and compete in the ring, and Britt Baker destroyed her on the mic. I'm Ollie Davis. This is Tempest, filling in for Luca in DAD. Please give us a subscribe, press the thumbs up button, leave a comment down below, and get in your Omegachats to WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out every single one of them, over $5 US. And thank you very much to our sponsors. They're in the room with us. They're on graphic form above. Geology. I'm going to do a Miz-style promo now.
I can't wait to hear it.
That was the bit where we just got cut off, wasn't it?
Pretty much, yes.
Said
We got
that.
all the way here, so I've still not yet heard the Miz promo.
I am a 14-time award-winning personalized skincare company recognized in Men's Health, Esquire, and Arse Men Grooming Awards. I have 6,000 plus 5-star reviews. Just running through I have main evented WrestleMania.
Oh, I'm with you.
Oh, yeah. Geology is a fantastic product. Me and Luke have been using this for about 18 months now, I think, since Geology first started sponsoring a show last year. It's you fill out a quiz online. They send you a lovely box of products geared towards your skin type and certain conditions you want to help. I always have dry skin here and here and here, beard draft, and this has genuinely stopped it. So, thank you, Geology. And using our special offer, you get 70% off their trial set. They've also brought out loads of new products. So click the link in the video description below, and you'll get 70% off. And there's another thing. Where is it? Where's the thing? An additional bonus offer of one of their brand new products, of skin, hair, and body products of your choice. It's cold. It's cold. The heating's going to be on. Your skin's going to dry out.
I don't believe it's going to be cold. But either way, if your skin does dry out, maybe you just get out of the shower. What better product to avoid that dryness than Geology?
We will be sampling the products in a bit. But first, let's talk about Saraya's in-ring promo. This was kind of meant to happen in kayfabe last week. Renee Paquette sat down with Saraya. Britt Baker was meant to join them, but she stood them up. And it was so Tony Schiavone, her friend, could do the interview. And actually, smart move, because being on home turf in the ring in front of the AEW fans, as opposed to yet another ex-WWE person in Renee, really worked out well for her. Arguably, too well.
A little bit.
So what happened? Saraya finally revealed that she is 100% medically cleared. And it was quite emotional. She got emotional when she said, this has been a weird story the last couple of months since she debuted in AEW. Everyone's thinking, can she wrestle? Can she not? But when she said it and she broke into tears, I was like, that's what it's all about.
That's cool.
Yeah, very cool. And she got overwhelmed with emotion and said, AEW is my house. I'm like, yeah, it is. And then Britt Baker pointed out how it really, really isn't. Because Britt just said, you're a superstar, not a wrestler.
Ooh.
And it's not your house. I built this house from day one. You walked into my house. And then she had a cute line about, we don't take walk-ins. You got to make an appointment. Mm-hmm. She's a doctor. She's a dentist. And then we've seen this before with Saraya, where she gets a bit flustered when things don't go 100% well. The other time was when she said, oh, yeah, well, Britt rhymes with the S word. It was a bit
Got her.
But then Saraya just went on a really, again, genuinely emotional monologue about how Britt doesn't know what it takes to really make it. Paige has had her career ended. She's had her neck broken. She's done all these things. But it's a motivation that doesn't make sense when you're talking to Britt Baker, who we have seen bleed. We've seen work with a broken wrist as champion, dominate as champion, be one of the shining things, one of the only good things that AEW has done with their women's division. And now here is someone who has walked in, ignored all of that, which is the worst thing you can do to an AEW audience. And it definitely made me, and I would argue the live crowd, side with Britt.
A little bit. It was a weird deal for me because I felt Britt's promo felt very much like a promo. There wasn't she wasn't getting over emotional the way that Saraya was, and that's fine, but it was different tones being portrayed here for sure. And I felt like Britt's promo was almost kind of like 100% thought out. Mm-hmm. It was like everything that she said did make sense. And even if you can still feel very, very much for Saraya in her journey back to wrestling, there were a number of things in her promo that didn't quite make sense. And it was just those little things where you can just sort of pick and just pull apart pieces of her promo. I still thought it was a very good segment. I still think that she did a good job of showing that emotion, and she had her big moment of saying, I'm back. This is what I've been waiting for X amount of years. But it was kind of strange at times because you look at Britt Baker and she's saying that, well, you don't know what it takes to make it, but we have seen Britt Baker make it. She is one of the biggest success stories that AEW has had from a homegrown talent. So it doesn't quite fit the narrative that they're trying to say here. And you could say a number of different things and still make this make sense. If they had just tweaked this promo a little bit and just had Saraya say, listen, you haven't been through what I've been through. You don't know what it takes to suffer and do everything like this to try and achieve this. Yes, you have reached these heights, but you haven't felt the setbacks that I have. And that means that I'm stronger than you are, and that's why you are not going to be able to beat me at Full Gear. I think that would have put everything a little bit more in perspective, just enough. Because as it was, I was like, okay, I don't quite feel for what Saraya is saying after the announcement of being back. Whereas, again, Britt kind of got people on her side with this, to the fact that people were booing Saraya when she hit the whatever they're gonna call the rampage now. I don't know. It was an interesting segment for sure.
I think the particular part about Saraya going into You Haven't Made It and listening through, I've main evented it, or not main evented, but I've wrestled here, and here. It felt very TNA in a way, where you would get ex-WWE guys come into TNA and then trash the TNA originals to say, yeah, but you haven't made it in the big leagues,
Mhm.
which by proxy means TNA wasn't the big leagues. I really got this, and I don't think this was the intention because it seems like AEW really want to portray Saraya as a babyface.
Mhm.
But the way they've gone about that is intentionally make the person they made look like they've never reached the heights of WWE.
Yeah, because in the world of AEW, how much higher can Britt Baker go? You know?
Yeah.
Wins the title in a very high-profile match, is champion for a very long time, has a pretty good reign, all things considered. Maybe not perfect, but pretty good, at least in kayfabe. You know, she had a lot of title defenses, is the star of the women's division. I don't know. Like, if there was something that she was missing and she was still trying to achieve and everything, maybe there'd be something there, but I don't know. I think you're right. It was strange. And also, if anybody in the comments can tell me when Saraya wrestled on the Tokyo Dome, I would love to know, because I was like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
I don't recall that happening.
I was going to ask you this. I was going to be, you know Japanese wrestling.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
I looked it up afterwards. I was like, I looked on Pro Fight DB. I looked on Cage Match. I was like Googling Saraya Knight, Tokyo Dome, Page Tokyo Dome, and found nothing. Absolutely nothing that links these two. So if anybody in the comments can tell me when Saraya wrestled in the Tokyo Dome or even appeared in the Tokyo Dome, maybe, like, has she gone to a baseball game in the Tokyo Dome? I don't know. I'm not saying she's lying, but if you can tell me, I would love to know.
It did feel like, you know, you said Britt's delivery felt like a wrestling promo and Paige's felt more like an emotional, spontaneous thing. I like both of those styles. I just think they did not work well together here. It's almost like no one knew what the other person was going to do. Like Saraya didn't know what Britt was going to say because she did seem caught off guard by them, but maybe it was more she was emotional. She'd just been cleared. The fans were reacting the way they hadn't planned to. Which, when she says, and I did the Tokyo Dome, that to me is just like, oh, I'm just going into crazy rant mode to win this argument out of panic.
Yeah, it was interesting. And even when she was making her announcement, I didn't feel like the crowd was taking the journey that they kind of wanted them to. Because in the way she delivered her lines, she was like, unfortunately, ... And you kind of, I was thinking that she was expecting everyone to go, no. And it's just, for Britt, and everyone then did come up, but it did feel like the crowd was never quite on the same page as what was happening.
Huh?
This
one. Look at him.
It's her old name. You can't say that. You can't say her old name now. Yeah, it was an interesting segment, though. It'll be interesting to me to see what the reception is for their match at Full Gear and how a pay-per-view crowd, which in theory would be like a more hardcore AEW fan base, not that this Dynamite crowd wasn't, but like the real hardcore traveling AEW fans that go to all the pay-per-views, how they react to both of these stars. I don't know. We haven't gotten very many of like, you are the ex-WWE person coming in. That kind of heat and that kind of rejection of an incoming star. We haven't gotten that very much. It's usually like, oh, come, welcome to the party. Come have fun with us. I don't know if that's going to be the case because we've already seen the fans start to turn on this a little bit. So I don't know. It's very curious.
It all depends, I think, on how good a match they have. And I just look at the facts, and she hasn't wrestled for a very long time. She's coming off a very serious neck injury that forced her to retire. I can't see a world where Saraya has an AEW pay-per-view in-ring quality match that she needs to overcome the sort of awkward way she's debuted in the company. I'm hoping I'm wrong, and they blow us all away, and we're like, oh my God, it was a weird debut, but from Full Gear onwards, wow, Saraya was a good decision. But right now, everything is playing into my worst fear that this wasn't a good idea to bring her in.
I don't know. I have a little bit more faith in the pay-per-view match just because I think having come off of such a long layoff and going into your first match in a new promotion, I can understand wanting to go in there and pull out all the stops and have the absolute best match possible. And I think that this is a partnership, and I guess we don't really know what their in-ring chemistry is going to be like, but I can hope that them two together is going to result in good in-ring chemistry. Again, don't know that for sure. But I could see this being the match where it's like, okay, now we have to prove people wrong, and thus we'll do more, and thus hopefully have a better match out of it. So, I don't know. We'll see, though.
Let's see what the Omegachats have to say. Hannah Allen. Oh, this was apparently a lovely one to start off with. Hannah Allen says, "Hello, lovelies. Right, so first and foremost, thank you, WrestleTalk, for all you do for us. Your community loves and supports you guys so much. I understand you'll be subject to criticisms, but I still don't understand the level of backlash based on opinion. I honestly look forward to hearing what you all have to say week to week. Sure, Ollie has this weird ranking system he's in too deep to ever revert back from, lol, but that's why we love you. Please don't ever listen to the ugly side of wrestling fandom."
Thank you, Hannah. You're lovely. I hope the wine's treating you well tonight.
Who's saying nasty stuff about me?
No one worth listening to.
Are there some people out there that don't like my new AEW takes? It's the first time hearing, but thank you, Hannah. On the subject of Britt owned Saraya. By the way, I came up with a thumbnail. Is owned the best word for this anymore?
No, it should have been pwned. Should have been with a P.
A P?
Yeah. It was like 15 years ago.
Is that what slang is these days?
Yeah.
Yeet it. I don't know what that means. Charles Berg says, surely Britt and Saraya were aware of how these promos would be received, right? Ollie mentioned it felt like something was missing from AEW. I agree. That something is Miro. Where Miro? Also, quick question, is Wrestle League discontinued or on hiatus? Jam that jam. It's on hiatus.
It will be coming back.
We actually worked on it last week.
We did. It's coming back. Don't you worry yourselves. It's been a time this year, but it will be back.
Slick Rob, who wrote this title? Saraya clearly handed Britt her ass on the mic last night. Oh, wow. Everything she said was a fact. Britt has had so much handed to her over the past 3 years, whereas Saraya sacrificed her mental and physical health to get where she is. Well, I wrote this title. I thought it was an objective win for Britt here.
I've seen people really like Saraya's promo for sure, but I don't know. Like the lines about having everything handed to her by Tony Khan, like I don't really get that.
Especially when this Saraya debut has felt a lot like Tony just going, "I'll do whatever you want."
Right, and it would be one thing if Britt won the championship, not like when she was cold, like not behind the fans, nothing like that. But when she won the women's title at Double or Nothing 2021, she was like the most overpopular person on the show. So at that point, I can't really say that it's Tony Khan handing her something. It's like, no, she just got over by being really good. And we can talk about what happened after that and everything, but I think for the most part, she's kind of lived up to her end of the bargain, is coming in fairly inexperienced and climbing the ladder and doing it by just improving and getting there.
Yeah. Riot DR, hey yo. Saraya is a pioneer in women's wrestling, but sadly, promos were never her strongest weapon. Weren't they? I always remember really looking forward to Paige promos.
I wasn't really watching Raw that much during those days.
Not the best equipment to go into a promo battle with Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. By the way, since she's not Paige anymore, what should her finisher be called?
That is the question now, isn't it?
What? And you don't want any mention of Paige in there?
I would imagine not. It doesn't really work if you just still call this the Rampage.
Saraya. Come on, puns. Everyone in the chat, let's have some workshop puns here. So things we can workshop. Saraya. We're going to include Knight, her last name.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
That's probably about it.
That's it, isn't it? What else is in her character? She's English.
Uh-huh.
And Renee Paquette's her friend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not a lot to work with.
Yeah. So yeah. Do a thing, chat. Figure out what to call it. And finally,
someone said the spinning Saraya. It's just funny because the spinning solo. It's a stupid name.
Kevin says, 2022 continues to be a crazy year. This announcement would have had more impact had the story not been dragged out for almost 2 months, but it's still great to see Saraya back in the ring. However, Full Gear is looking like another long pay-per-view. Brace yourself.
Who gets to do live reactions for that show as well?
You love wrestling.
I do. So many hours of wrestling.
I feel like with Saraya's comeback, she should either come back and immediately revealed that she's cleared.
This feels like a promo that should have happened like a month and a half ago.
Or comes back just as a GM or a manager or a non-wrestling role, and then she gets beaten up brutally by Britt, and then she comes back and says, well, now I'm medically cleared.
The Samoa Joe NXT approach from last year.
And quickly here, MC Scammer, did Britt no-sell Saraya's move finisher? Seems like she got up quick. More heat in the women's locker room.
I didn't notice
Surely
at all.
I didn't notice that. Before we get on with our full play-by-play review, geology. It's going to get chilly out there, which means you're going to have the heating on, which means your skin's going to go from very hot environments and stuffy to very cold environments. You're going to need to protect your face. I had a Halloween party around my house, and one of my girlfriend's drunk friends started being very nasty to one of my friends because he had flaky skin, and she kept on saying, "You need to put more moisturizer on." And I couldn't argue, even though he was feeling really bad about it the next day. I said, geology. That's your friend, buddy. Geology, you fill out a little quiz online, and it gives you a bespoke regimen of lovely skincare products. Some to take in the morning, some to take in the evening. It's very, very well laid out and clearly explained. I've been doing it for over a year, so's Luke. And look at us. Look at that skin.
It's good skin.
And if you use our link in the video description below and use the code WrestleTalk70 or WrestleTalk70, just Wrestle70, you will get 70% off for a limited time only off their award-winning skincare trial set. And that's on top of their current sale prices. And on top of that, you get an additional bonus offer you get to add one of their brand new skin, hair, or body products of your choice to that order.
Lovely stuff. They also come out like they say, one of the things that I've always had pointed out to me about this, and I really do appreciate about this kind of thing, is when they say like you only need to use like one pump of it. That is exactly how much is required. It comes out very specifically in how much you need for each. I don't want to use the word serving because that doesn't sound right. But each use of this, as opposed to other products like this, where it's like, oh, just put one little pump. It's like, well, that's way too much. I don't know how much that is. This is absolutely not like that. This gives you the perfect amount for exactly how much you need.
I hate that too. Like in recipes when they're like, a pinch, add a little bit of salt. What does that mean?
Yeah.
It's the same with skincare. But yeah, the sort of pump things, which these ones on the everyday face wash, they've got a little circle on the back to tell you exactly how much to pour out. Perfect. Yes. Everyone go over there. Helps support us, and it helps support your face. Right, so this episode of Dynamite opened on a really good match. It was an 8-man tag, FTR and the Acclaimed on one side versus Swerve and Our Glory
and the Ass Boys.
Before the match even got started, Daddy Ass ran down and tried to attack Swerve, but BJ Whitmer, of all people, was like, no, come on. Come to the back. You're not allowed at ringside now.
I always forget that BJ Whitmer works there.
I was like, is that BJ Whitmer? Has he just started working? And I looked at it afterwards. No, he's been there as an agent for a while.
Yeah. Every once in a while, BJ Whitmer just gets involved pulling apart a brawl. And I was like, oh, yeah.
I feel like wherever Ring of Honor goes, BJ Whitmer follows.
Yeah.
But this was a really fun match with loads of sort of storylines balanced between them, because eventually you'll have an FTR Acclaimed match. There's the FTR Ass Boys feud. There was the Acclaimed Swerve and Our Glory stuff. And Keith Lee did not fist bump Swerve on the entrance, still bubbling their tension away.
I'm thinking, because I've heard stuff about possible storyline directions for Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, and a lot of them like haven't come to fruition thus far, and I kind of expected them to this summer. I'm wondering what we're going to get in this Full Gear match, whether this is finally like Swerve cheats to try and win, and Keith just says like, had enough, not going to be your partner anymore if this is how you're going to be, and walks out on him. Maybe Keith turns. I don't know. There's a lot of different directions they could go, but I'm kind of looking to this pay-per-view match to be the big climactic moment in their team. I'm not sure what that's going to be, but it made for a fun match here. Like you said, I like matches like this where each of the different, in most cases, just wrestlers, but in this case, teams can all have their own little storylines across from one another. It makes everything that happens in a match like this fairly interesting.
The point you just said on the Swerve and Our Glory potential split. Like, if you asked me 2 weeks ago about the Full Gear tag title match, I'd have been like, yeah, sure, I'm looking forward to it. You know, it'll be fun, rubber match, blows off the feud, and Acclaimed retain. Yeah, whatever. But now we're getting close to it. It is this Swerve and Keith Lee tension that's really making me excited because, yeah, if Lee turns heel and they create a super heel team, I imagine they win.
Yeah.
And then they feud with FTR. And all of a sudden, I'm like, now it's not predictable anymore. That could be a really exciting tangent direction. Sucks for the Acclaimed, but I think they've created this nice little 3-4-way top of the tag division where you could hot potato it a bit.
And they kind of have been doing that a lot this year with the hot potato. Like, we haven't seen very many long tag title runs. Like, Jurassic Express has kind of been like the longest tag title reign we've had this year. And I'm not advocating for taking the belts off of the Acclaimed, but I think they are so popular that it wouldn't hurt them if they did it in a hot angle. Yeah. Like, if they just had them lose the titles, that would kind of be lame. But if they lose it in a big heel turn, and you can kind of take that anger of them losing the titles and put it onto a new top heel team, I think that's perfect. Like, you could do that and have them face FTR. Ultimately, these titles got to end up on FTR, right? And I don't think FTR are the ones to take the titles off the Acclaimed. So, I don't know. It's a solution that I think works.
Overall, the Acclaimed one. They got the pin. After that, we got an interesting MJF podcast interview excerpt. So I don't believe this podcast has been released in full yet.
I've not heard anything about it.
It was like the AEW have had MJF did a Pardon My Take podcast interview, presumably approved this time, and they had a clip of that. It was filmed beautifully. I don't know what they're using, the 4K Black Magic,
maybe.
And MJF just cut this promo looking down the lens, and it was an extraordinary promo. And he just talked about how he's going to win the title. It's going to be a wrestling history-defining moment where people look back at his title win and go, that's the moment the business went mainstream again, because he's going to fly the flag for AEW and the wrestling industry. This is like MJF is talking about flying the flag for AEW. And that was the moment I went, he's turning heel. He's still a heel.
It was a little on the nose, wasn't it?
So on the nose.
Oh, it's interesting because I think that they could do a really fun MJF babyface run and everything like that. I don't think him being like, yeah, I'm the AEW man after everything this year, after pushing this bidding war of 2024 thing, I don't think that will be a layer of his character if they were to do a babyface run. He's not going to be just like, I am the spokesman for AEW. Hurrah. I don't see that happening. If this is all a swerve to get him to join back up with the firm and just be a heel all the way through, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how we're going to get there, but if he doesn't win this title, I will be gobsmacked. He's such the guy.
Yeah, but the problem is, like, if he wins the title and he's just a babyface, I think this is a bit pants. But if he wins the title because he turns heel and the firm is all a big misdirect and we get the whole bidding more of 2024 thing, I think it could be one of the greatest setups ever.
Could well be. And he is a creative enough person that I think that he's aware of how to make this title reign good. I think he, in his mind, can do what he needs to do to trick the fans or just get the fans to take whatever ride he wants to take them on. And I have faith that this is going to be good.
So 2 other bits. He said how the biggest moments in his career have always had someone else overshadow him. talked about when he beat Cody Rhodes, everyone was just talking about the neck tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
When he had the Jon Moxley match, was that one of them? It was Matt Hardy's concussion.
Yeah, that was the Moxley match.
Yeah, the War Games where everyone was talking about Jericho's bad bump, and of course when he came back, it was CM Punk's press conference, and he even said there was a press conference. Not CM Punk by name, of course. Kind of ruined Wardlow's moment.
Yeah, kind of. It's hard to look past that when that's the whole point of this promo.
But then the other part I wanted to talk about, I think MJF should have been on last week's show. I think he needed to be on this week's show. As great as this podcast excerpt was, I think the show is lacking momentum in the build to Full Gear, and having him around for the angles would help that. But he explained it. He said the doctors said he shouldn't be traveling after such a brutal beatdown. I saw that beatdown.
He got put through a table. Danielson got a worse beatdown on this show.
I know so many guys get worse things happen to them. And saying that you're not coming to, this is such a heel move.
Yeah. If they wanted to do this story of I got to heal up if I'm going to beat, you got to Pillmanize him or something. You got to put the chair around his neck and stomp on it and stuff. Really drive home that this is an injury angle. You just got kind of your average TV beatdown.
Yeah.
There wasn't that much to it. So it's a bit of a disconnect there. I think you're right. Aside from Forbidden Door just having a cursed build and that sort of thing, I think this has been one of the weaker builds to a pay-per-view AEW's done, just because there hasn't been much focus on building to it. And even when there has been, there isn't much follow-up to the big angles that they have shot. That MJF promo with William Regal, we were like, that was amazing. This thing that's going to lead us to Full Gear, we're going to have great promos every week. He just got laid out the next week and hasn't been really on the show since. I think that's a mistake. I would have had him cutting great promos every single week to sell this pay-per-view.
Teaming with Moxley against the firm, all that stuff. How will they coexist? Which, can work. So an odd one. But if it all ends up building a heel turn, genius.
In a vacuum, it was a great promo.
Yeah.
But if you look at it from a broader sense, I would have you could have done this promo in the ring.
Right after that, we got another sort of vignette. It was Stokely Hathaway walking around a city at night, and kind of the promo over the top, talking about how him and his friend Max, he thought they wanted the same things, money mainly. And he had the line of, he's riding Jon Moxley's dick without a license, and the worst thing you can do is ride a dick without a license. Who made Stokely Hathaway the dick riding enforcement police?
Freeze! Dick riding police!
Do you need a permit?
Well, you need a license. Yeah, you need a license.
So there was a line in this where Stokely Hathaway said, "See you in hell, Max." Now, if MJF is the devil, as he keeps saying, even in his promo before, and he is going to turn, and he's going to be a heel all along, where would Stokely Hathaway meet the devil to go, yuck, 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 we got everyone?
New Jersey.
Good. In hell, of course. Long Island.
Yeah.
Oh my God. When are they next in Long Island?
I have no idea. I've been kind of waiting for some sort of news of when they're going to be in Long Island next, because obviously.
So yeah, see where this is going. It's something that I'm interested in a few weeks now, looking back, but in the moment, not that interesting. Ethan Page took on Eddie Kingston in the first match, I think, of the Championship Eliminator Tournament. The winner will take on whoever the champion is. A winter is coming. And Eddie Kingston's totally fine, by the way. And Hathaway tried to interfere that when Kingston had the stretch plum, locked in, but Ethan Page won with an ego's edge off the second rope, which was extraordinary.
It's a big time finish. It is a finish to beat a upper mid card to top star. That being said, I don't want to harp on too many things on this show, because I did enjoy this week's episode of Dynamite. I thought it was a very good show. My lord, how much Eddie Kingston has fallen down this card since that cage or the shark cage match with Chris Jericho. Like, I'm appalled at what they've done with Eddie Kingston this year. Like, from people saying that Eddie Kingston should win the title at Grand Slam to just doing the finish they did was the Sammy Guevara match. And now he's just losing in the first round of a tournament. It's not like a big angle on the show where he gets a promo afterwards and is fired up about it. He's just kind of another guy. Like, he's a popular guy, but he is just kind of being treated like another guy on this show. I think that is a great misuse of his talents.
All the stuff they could have done with Claudio
Mm-hmm.
off of that Blood and Guts finish, which I thought was one of the most incredible finishes of the year from a storyline character dynamic perspective. No follow-up.
Maybe we'll get there. We had to continue this Blackpool Combat Club JAS feud even longer.
The Jericho Vortex.
Yeah.
Ethan Page advanced, unfortunately.
Shout out to Ethan Page.
Yeah, well, this is the problem. Love Ethan Page. But I love Eddie Kingston. He's like my favorite. And he's my best friend. In this, Tony Schiavone said, AEW coming to the UK, by the way.
Yes! I missed the debut in Canada, but I'll be here. Knowing my luck, I will be in like Toronto
you'll
for that.
be back for a wedding or something. Apparently we'll get more details on that next week. We got a promo between Roosh and the Dark Order for their Eliminator Tournament clash on Friday. Ari Daivari called out Wardlow for a TNT title shot, offered him the services of his butler. It was very dark, but that's fine. It was only there for a squash. Wardlow murdered him with loads of power bombs, calls out Hobbs because Hobbs attacked him last week. They have a sort of back and forth. Samoa Joe's behind him. And Wardlow says, I'm going to win all the titles. Joe did not like that. But already he was lurking.
I saw like a clip of this, not even the turn, but like I just saw the framing of everything on Twitter this morning when I woke up. I was like, well, he's turning.
Yeah.
You don't stand behind a man like that unless you're going to attack him or something.
So he turned. He beat up Wardlow, put him in the Coquina clutch. Or it was just a sleeper, actually, wasn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
And yeah, I thought I was never into Ward Joe. I think it was filler. I don't really think they've done anything to get them over as a team. I mean, they had like
the gates of agony.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I don't like the ROH TV title in all this. I think it muddies things. However, sometimes it's about the destination and not the journey, because the destination is Wardlow versus Hobbs versus Samoa Joe. That is a TNT title. That's the best thing the TNT title would have done since Wardlow won it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Wardlow has two different types of TNT championship matches. It is either you beat Tony Nese or Ari Daivari in like 20 seconds with just a load of power bombs and it's a squash, or he faces giant hosses and it's a back and forth brilliant match. And I know which one I prefer. And it looks like we're going to be getting that. And even if they just do Wardlow versus Hobbs for the title and then Wardlow versus Joe, any combination of these three guys, I will be looking forward to.
It's similar to the tag title scene where you've got FTR, Acclaimed, and Swerve and Glory. Like, I don't mind them all fighting each other in various combinations, three-ways, tag team matches, trading the title back and forth. I could have that between these three guys.
Yeah. I think there's a lot more you can do now with Samoa Joe as a heel as well. That's fun, because Samoa Joe really hasn't done much of anything since he's gotten here either. Like, he was part of that Owen Hart Cup, which was fine, but maybe a little underwhelming. Yeah. And he was off TV for a long time after that. And then it's just been this War Joe thing, which I was into. I was really looking forward to their team. But again, they've only really been feuding with the Embassy. Hasn't lit my world on fire. But now this is something that I can look forward to involving Samoa Joe.
I've been talking a lot about how AEW is lacking heels. And as we're talking about this, I'm like, well, Keith Lee might turn heel. MJF might always have been a heel. And now Samoa Joe's turned heel. I think this is quite a healthy rebalancing of the good-evil sides.
Especially if you have like Kenny Omega coming back possibly as a babyface. Yep. Like, those are big-name people that you can put opposite a Kenny Omega or other top babyface stars and create a bunch of fresh new matches. There's stuff to look forward to for sure.
Jade Cargill cut a promo on Nyla Rose backstage. Then we got the Saraya section. A bit of an odd one with the best friends. And
What was this segment?
It seemed like a long segment, backstage segment, that they did a weird transition graphic between.
Might as well have done a Star Wars wipe in the middle of it.
It was in your face. It was very Being the Elite, where the edit transition was an in-joke that probably you should take out of your national broadcast.
I looked over at Pete as I was watching this. I was like, I was baffled. It was because it was Orange Cassidy and Danhausen and everybody. They're backstage, and the Factory's backstage, and you've got Jay Lethal and crew backstage. Jay Lethal pays Cole Carter and the Factory for their services as the fake Sting last week, and they're like, "Oh, thanks, man. Next time, 50% off. Whatever. Who cares?" Immediately afterwards, you get Orange and Danhausen, and they're like, "Hey, don't hit my friend. That's not nice." And it's Orange Cassidy. You can kind of get away with goofiness with them. And they set up Lee Johnson versus Orange Cassidy for Rampage. And I'm with you so far. It's a wacky segment, but they're wacky people. That's fine. And then there was like a transition, like you might see in a partsFUNknown list, where just like the screen kind of wobbles a little bit, and then it's just Trent and Chuck. And he's like, "Hey, scumbags." Jay Lethal's like, "Is he talking to us?"
Yeah.
What? He's like, "Hey, scumbags." He's like, "I think he thinks that we're scumbags." He walks over. He's like, "Yeah, hey, scumbags." He's like, "What? Do you want to fight? You want to do something about it?" It's like, "Yeah, I'll fight you tonight on Dynamite." Hard cut to the entrance. What was this?
This had the plotting and staging of a porno movie.
Yeah.
It was very stilted, before the action, and which I guess would be the match. It was bizarre.
It was really strange.
I'm starting to this was so clunky and off-putting to someone who would just be flicking channels and saying, "Oh, what's the wrestling like? Oh, it's weird and crap.
Yeah.
I'll turn over." I think just embrace the idea of backstage segments happening at the same time as the matches. Because this was all earlier in the day stuff.
Right.
I think you could have just had this, one of these segments earlier in the night. I'll see you out there later. You don't have to go, awkwardly fit things in where you're like, this happened earlier today. But it was and all of that was just a setup, really, because then we got the Lethal versus Trent match, which was fine. Heel interference, Jay beat Trent.
I don't want to have the same rant every time I see Jay Lethal on this show, but Jay Lethal gets way too much TV time for my liking. I don't feel like anybody ever benefits from having a feud with him, and he has had a staggering number of TV matches compared to some of the other people that I actually would like to see wrestle.
Well, I like Jay Lethal, but yeah, just the storylines he's in are just not really. They've been so mid-card.
Exactly. The matches will always be fine. You're guaranteed like a 3.5-star match every time he goes out there. And that is a good match. But no one cares is the problem. Like, no one cared about his feud with Wardlow. No one really cares about this feud with Darby. There's no real storyline beat for any of it. It doesn't feel like anybody moves up after facing him. You never think that Jay Lethal is going to move up the card after his feud's done. It feels like whoever's involved in this is just treading water. And I feel like there's better uses of that TV time right now.
Well, this was all a very long way. And the whole Jay Lethal faction thing has just been a very long plot to go Jeff Jarrett versus Sting.
Yep.
Because Jeff Jarrett comes out after this, explains why he's with each guy. He's with Jay Lethal because he got him his, first job and pushed him to the moon.
Black machismo.
He's taken over promotions with Sanjay Dutt everywhere. And look at this guy. He's got a Netflix special. And he's really, really tall. And yeah, then he challenged Darby and Sting to a match at Full Gear. Which, even though I agree with you, I am very excited by.
Yeah, I like his theme music a lot. I know Luke Owen does. There were a number of little Easter egg moment type things on this show, some of which I've forgotten to mention. I like that Jeff Jarrett took a shot at Braun Strowman in this match.
Did he?
Yeah, he said that, I forget what the exact wording of it was, but he took a shot at the guy with the red clown pants in the other company taking a shot at smaller guys and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Which, good for you, Jeff Jarrett. Also, I want to make mention of this because I thought this was brilliant. In the opening match, the 8-man tag, one of the guns did the Road Dogg shuffle and jive and punch sequence, and then was countered by the sharpshooter because of Road Dogg's stupid comments about Bret Hart.
Yeah, he said he was more over than Bret Hart.
More or less. The quote or whatever was like, Bret Hart, I don't think Bret Hart was a great wrestler. I think I was a better sports entertainer than Bret Hart, and I think that's where the money is. Something like that.
That's like a hate crime to you, being a Canadian.
Yeah, I mean, again, my response, would you care to compare the amount of money drawn by Bret Hart and Road Dogg, you chowderhead? But regardless, I thought that whole bit was very well done in that opening tag match. Little bits that make me enjoy the show more.
The a crew member started to wrap up Jeff Jarrett. This is now my least favorite spot in wrestling. And Jarrett was like, "Don't wrap me up." And he chased him off. Didn't even hit him with a guitar.
Yeah.
It was a weird end to a long, weird bit.
I don't like the idea that wrestlers have time cues with promos.
It's too insider.
Yeah, it feels too much like, oh, this is a TV show, as opposed to these are all real things, like people coming out and just talking, you know.
Yeah. It also undermines the wrestler. The show doesn't think this person is good enough to stick with. Right.
Unless it's CM Punk cutting a pipe bomb and them having to cut the mic and be like, someone get the stick. That's a very different situation. Other than just like, hey, you're out of time. Hey, we got another thing to get to. Come on.
Yeah.
Exit stage left.
But maybe they should have cut his mic at another point. Jungle Boy backstage said Christian doesn't get to decide when their feud is over. Well, then when will it be?
As soon as Christian can wrestle again in like another 6 months.
Moxley had a rebuttal promo at MJF. Very good. There was a moment where Moxley just looked down the lens, went quiet, and said, "You say you're the devil. I've seen the devil. I've dealt with nasty, nasty men. You are not it." I thought it was a great moment.
Did you hear that when he said that, like, I've seen the devil, I've dealt with nasty men, someone went, Vince McMahon! Also very good. Yeah, I mean, Jon Moxley cut a great promo. Shocker.
But he didn't pick up on why Max isn't around. He never said, well, if you're the devil, if you're this generational talent, where have you been the last 2 weeks? Which does make me worried that it is a babyface run that Max is on. We got another Elite promo of things getting erased. I'm not into these. I think this is a very lackluster way to bring them back, but whatever. It'll all be forgotten when they are back.
Exactly.
Jamie Hayter versus Sky Blue. Sky Blue got a lot in this. I think the purpose of this match should have been to get over Jamie Hayter. But really, Jamie Hayter won the match, but all the focus was on Sky Blue. It was bizarre.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, Jamie Hayter won with a really cool finish.
Yeah.
It was like go from the electric chair into like a German suplex, it spin it around, hit the Rainmaker ripcord lariat thing, and then she wins. I think it was a really good finish. Should this have been a little bit more one-sided ahead of this pay-per-view match? Maybe. But I think they're also trying to do a few things at once here and try and move Sky Blue up the card slowly. And I can't be too mad at that. Maybe this eventually will lead to maybe if Jamie Hayter wins this title, I don't know. Maybe Sky Blue can be a TV championship match between them at some point. I don't know. Either way, I think it's reps for Sky Blue who they very clearly see stuff in. So I'm not bent out of shape about it.
Brian Cage cut a promo on Dante Martin ahead of their tournament match. The camera then cut to Alex Marvez doing acting backstage. Oh no, we've had Ricky Starks get beaten up by Lance Archer. And yeah, Lance had beaten up Ricky, but we never saw it.
He smacked his head into the garage door a couple times. I want him to be throwing people through the ceiling like that other time.
I know! Lance Archer used to actually murder people.
Just grab some dude. Yeah, where's Jake Roberts? Just grab someone, throw him through the ceiling, and put him in a trash can.
Yeet?
Yeah, yeet.
He yeeted them.
He yeeted him through the ceiling.
And the main event was Danielson versus... by the way, I think Ricky Starks could win.
I think Ricky
third
Starks
tournament.
is winning the tournament.
I think Ethan Page, Ricky Starks final. When is the final? At Full Gear?
Full Gear.
Right. Okay. I was gonna say maybe Ethan Page is like, oh, I'm gonna win, and then I'm gonna lay down for MJF, but then Ricky Starks wins, and then you build to Starks versus MJF at Winter is Coming.
I think that's fun. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. Danielson versus Sammy Guevara in a 2 out of 3 falls match in the main event was just terrific. And yeah, it was bookended by really good matches this episode of Dynamite. Really good story as well. Sammy Guevara hit Daniel Bryan. Who's that guy?
Who is that?
Hit Bryan over the head with a chair. Immediately disqualified, loses the first fall. Danielson is bleeding. Sammy beats him relatively soon after for the second fall. And then you just get this insanely dramatic final 10 minutes of reversal, usually like shooting stars into arm bars. And ultimately Danielson wins. Great match.
I thought this was a really good match. You and I said in the office, like, you came over and brought this up not 5 seconds after I was like having the exact same thought, that this was the same 2 out of 3 falls match structure as Bryan's match with Sheamus at Extreme Rules 2012, in which the heel gets disqualified in the first fall, sacrificing the fall to damage their opponent, then quickly wins the second fall, and then you have the match, and eventually the babyface wins. I think that is a perfectly fine way to execute the 2 out of 3 falls stip that actually plays into the stipulation itself. Because so often it's just like, okay, well, the heel gets the heat, and then the babyface gets the shine, and each of those results in a pin, and then you just go into the match. And it's like, okay, you probably didn't need this step. It didn't add that much more, but it's fun. This, I thought, was the opposite. I thought a perfectly paced match. I think these two work really well together. I mean, Bryan Danielson works well with just about everybody. It's a shocker, of course. I think there were so many fun spots. They did the Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero moonsault into a DDT spot in this match. Not quite as good as Rey and Eddie, but like it never will be because that's one of the best spots in wrestling history. Really good stuff. Like they were doing really good counters. Bryan hit the running knee like off a springboard at one point. Tons of great near falls. Really good match. This is what you want. Not super into the whole idea of the 4-way at Full Gear, but it will be a good match. And if this is just a build up for that, that's cool. This is a really good match to do it in.
What's your take on Sammy Guevara?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because again, we were talking about this in the office before the podcast started, where like you look at a year ago when he won the TNT title from Miro, like he was pretty over. He was pretty popular and up until like the whole like once he got together with Ty Conti on screen, it was like there's still potential there for him to be a babyface star, and it's been so far like the opposite direction ever since the Dan Lambert stuff, the Scorpio Sky stuff, and then adding in all this backstage heat thing that I think with a lot of people he has really bad go away heat. To the point where, like, I think for a lot of people, it does drag down matches like the 4-way or this when he's a part of it. And I know that he's very talented in the ring and he's going to produce a great match. But I think that lack of interest from other people just kind of seeps into the product a little bit for me. I don't know. It's a really weird situation.
But then you watch a match like this and you're like, I don't care. He's amazing, but he's a great heel. Put him against everyone.
Exactly.
Sorry, the reason I was doing that is because the moment Tay and Sammy got together, I was like, they're going to be heels. There's no way they can be baby faces. And Luke was like, oh, what are you talking about? I was like, the guy proposed to his fiance in the ring.
Like 2 months earlier.
Yeah, like you got, and look at them. They're too pretty. I think that was my main argument. Hot people like that cannot be baby faces. And yeah, I was right.
You always are.
Eventually.
At the end of the day.
My tactic is I just stick to it and eventually I will be right after ages of being wrong. But yes, overall, really good match. Decent episode of Dynamite, but there's not much to grab me at the moment. And we're 2 weeks out from a pay-per-view. So I feel like... So I used to give AEW 85 to 95% last year. That was just the standard. And if I was giving an episode 80%, everyone was like, Ollie's being harsh. now I feel like the range for Dynamite is in that 70 to 75%.
Yeah.
That's like the new normal, which is a shame, but it's still very good. But yeah, I gave it 74 this show.
I think that's about right for me, because again, that would be pretty good wrestling show, but it's just because AEW had set such a high standard for itself that now anything below that standard does feel like, oh, another show that's not 4 out of 5 or whatever you want, whatever number you want to give it. But I think like a 75%, that's like a B.
Yeah.
I'd say this is like a B.
3.5 out of 5.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Well, thank you to all our Pledgehammers on Patreon. Tonight, if you're a $10 or above backer, you will get Fan Quizzlemania
with me and Laurie Blake, who's very excited to be there. Yes, no Andy Datson this time. He's double booked himself. So running this episode of the Temp Test will be yours truly. I've got this thing, and you can win one of these yourself. If you enter Quizzlemania tonight, Fan Quizzlemania that is, the $10 and above tier at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. If you win, you get one of these sent to your home. It's a very nice trophy. Wouldn't you like one?
And an even... another perk to sign up to is you get a shout out on this very show. Cue the music. For our $25 a month or more backers, Gabriel Lannis is the best. Lannis, number 1.
Well, hang on, that's not the right date.
Hannah A. Baby.
Baby. Yeah. Always shining, Garrett Albright.
Yeah. Geordie Bus Driver, Harry.
Yeah. Oh, Lord, I've never seen this one before. Isol J. Irizarry is scary.
Yeah. The Overstepper, James Nepper.
Yeah. Murderous, James Murtaugh. Yeah.
WrestleTalk's personal problem solver, Jamie Donovan.
Yeah. Viernes el Decimatercero, Jason Gutierrez. Yeah.
Look at the pronunciation there. Spoken class today, Jeremy Smith. Yeah. And that's a Pearl Jam reference.
John Jenkerson, son of Jenker. Yeah.
And finally for today's class is the Honourable Jonathan Gresham Prieston. Yeah. Thank you very much. Please do go over to WrestleTalk. Nope, patreon.com/WrestleTalk, and you can get your own shout out and compete against all your fellow Pledgehammers in tonight's Fan Quizzlemania. But let's get on with the rest of your Omegachats filling for time. Eddie Pat 14 says, cool promo from Saraya, but I don't see how she can say Britt was handed everything when she was the one handed opportunities. First NXT Women's Champion, Divas Champion, her Raw debut, 13 of her first few pay-per-views were title matches. She was the chosen woman. Jam that jam.
I think it kind of goes back to what we said, where like these lines of the promos didn't quite work. Like, again, there needed to be more of that you haven't been through what I've been through thing to make it all really make sense for me.
Laxim Narasimham B. So, AEW is making its debut in the UK. Don't know what the main event will be, but I do know what it should be. Colt Cabana versus Sullivan Bo Brown. It's a match 2 years in the making.
In a Pizza Hut, I believe they said on that Quizzlemania.
Loki 1349. Keith Lee turning heel to win the titles at Full Gear fits well since both FTR and Acclaimed are natural faces. I wouldn't say that about FTR. I think
they're great either way. Yeah.
This avoids the awkward face-face match against arguably the most over teams and gives them a juicy heel team for FTR to beat at the next pay-per-view. The more I think about it, the more I like it. Riot DR. I got to bring these up here. Did Shawn Michaels have a garage sale, or did the ass lads raid HBK's closet? I recognise those 90s tights. As for MJF, his battle seems to be between his pride and his intelligence. Moxley is his final ultimatum.
Well, we'll see. Like, I don't know. They could go so many different directions in this story. I really don't know what they're going to do.
Don't mind me, I'm at work, says, hello lads, are you going to do another live reactions from the Joiner and Worship for the AEW show? That one was one of the most fun streams to watch, beating out the whole team chanting egg, egg, egg. Also the Acclaimed Trios champions if they drop the belt. Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
That's interesting.
But I wouldn't, it's obviously the Elites thing. Don't touch the Elites little area, do you?
The Elite verse.
No, we're not doing the Joiner and Worship show. Hopefully next year we can sort things out, but hopefully soon next year.
Yes.
But I agree, that was awesome. Iron Man Kid 2008. My problem with the Eliminated Tournament is that it's made up of wrestlers that I love and all deserve to be AEW World Champion, but that's how it is sometimes.
Interesting.
Very mid-card tournament, though, compared to previous years.
Yeah, I was thinking the same way compared to last year, where the final was supposed to be Moxley versus Danielson. And prior to that, when it was Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page, this is kind of like, okay, who's going to get the shot to step up into the main event, as opposed to, here are all our main event talents who are all fighting for one shot.
Yeah, which is a way to do it. But I would have done it more like 75% established main eventers to young guys, and you could have them go through to the final, and that's the story you tell. Don't mind me, I'm at work again, says, the thing that makes me nervous about MJF as the face champion is that who is a heel for him to feud with now there is a CM Punk-sized hole in the roster? Who would you turn? Kenny killing what he built? Danielson sick of losing? Bringing a WWE guy?
It is interesting, isn't it? I don't know if he has like a perfect opposite on the heel side right out of the gate if he's a babyface. No one really comes to mind. Like, I know we were talking about people who were turning heel, but they all seemed that they would kind of be occupied for a little bit first.
I mean, Wardlow. Once upon a time would have made sense. Riot DR. He ain't dead. He is Jeff. Something about the way Jarrett holds a guitar reduces his score on the cool scale. I like his hat. Anyhow, with Jay Lethal and Sonjay, who is the next to join Luke's favourite faction? Satnam needs to do something besides be tall. No, he did it last week. Darby dove into him and he didn't move. That guy has a career for life now in my book. I don't think they need any more.
I mean, who else can they grab from TNA?
Cole Carter. Just buy him. Bacon Rasher. Hiya, lads. I'm sorry, but no. I honestly can't agree with any of this. Not for me at all, and struggling to deal with this review. Not great, in my opinion. Where's Pete? Why Ollie and Tempest? What about LIW for life? Unbelievable, Jeff. Joking. Love you both. Oh, that was a journey. I thought he was actually annoyed with us.
Yeah, I was like, what have we done to upset Bacon Rasher?
Well, you know, it's LIW for life, apart from the last 2 weeks, it seems.
Yeah, and then never again.
It's the wrestling buddies.
Yeah. After
We've been doing everything.
After Pete is gonna leave me on Saturdays.
MC Scammer. Good night sounds like a finisher name for her. Because the good night.
I think that of the ones that are possible to make puns with, night is definitely the easiest one.
Only if like a good commentary call, I feel like it should be good night and good luck.
Good night and or goodbye and good night. Bang.
That's a relevant reference, isn't
it?
1950s Walter. Was it Walter Cronkite?
I
Walter
don't
Cronkite?
know.
The newsreader in America?
Walter Cronkite.
Blakely. Saraya finisher, Nightfall. That also works.
Not bad.
Sting and Jarrett's spot, I'd bet money on is Sting no selling a guitar shot, yes. The real reason MJF is off TV is because he's filming for that Von Erichs movie. Overall, the show was fantastic and I loved it, even if it wasn't perfect. Oh, I don't think it's good to... Well, that's at the detriment then. That could be a reason, but that's not good.
It's not a kayfabe reason.
Yeah. He did say that he's going to do movies, though, in his promo. I'm Just Marcus says, first chat since I became a Pledgehammer a few months ago and first ever Omegachat. Anyways, welcome. Anyways, if Saraya uses Night as a last name, she could call her finisher the Night Send or Nightfall. Another vote there. Love listening to you guys jam that jam. Joe X in says, Sarande. Oh.
Serenade.
The Serenade. Okay, I see what you... Yeah, for the name of Saraya's finisher. Saraya's Serenade.
The Serenade.
But we'll put it in the maybe pile. Away from all the good ones. And Hannah Allen says, you have cultivated such a wonderful community, and so many of us are eternally grateful. We even get to geek out with you. Stay strong. Also, by the way, if you guys would like to convert some GBP to Aussie dollars, I'll still accept even after everything, lol. Lots of love, jam that jam.
What's the Australian dollar at? Is it better or worse than the Canadian dollar? Can't be much worse.
They are pretty trash.
Oh dear.
They're quite similar. It's, you know, I think it's a former colony thing.
Yeah, that Commonwealth connection isn't working out.
I see Naomi. Ever since the Sami Uso stuff, for some reason, all the other wrestling stories have seemed so mid recently. Wondering if it feels the same for you guys.
I don't know if it has like a connection with the Bloodline stuff, but like there's one wrestling story that I'm super connected to right now, and I was kind of hoping the MJF stuff was going to be the other one after that Regal promo, but it hasn't been on TV enough lately in order to kind of keep that momentum going.
Yeah. And finally, I see Naomi again. Can you settle an argument for me and my girlfriend? Do fish and chips come with hush puppies in the UK? Hush puppies is deep fried cornbread. No, they do not.
Nope. Not in my experience.
No.
I've had fish and chips a few times since I've been here. No deep fried cornbread.
What do you make of fish and chips?
I like fish and chips.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was told through no uncertain terms that I did not have proper fish and chips the first time I had it because they weren't chippy chips. Whatever that means.
Was that Luke?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's weird.
I was given like a list of qualifications that you need to hit in order for it to be proper fish and chips. Like it needs to be at a seaside town where it needs to be raining, needs to be wrapped in newspaper. And I was like, well, I guess I'm never having fish and chips then, guys.
You need to be warding off seagulls who are trying to attack you. But yes, thank you ever so much for your chats in today and for joining us for this AEW Dynamite review. Please get your comments in down below as well if you're watching on demand to tell us what you thought of the show. And go over to Patreon to play Thank Whistlemania tonight and check out our wonderful sponsor, Geology, to get your face as good as mine. It might, it won't quite get there, but...
I mean, no one can. Look at that face.
Wrestle 70 will get you 70% off on top of all of their usual sales. But for now, I've been Ollie Davis. This has been Tempest. Jam that jam.